few years later, we played that same team at a tournament.
Didn't even score a run,
in
did
New Jersey.
He no-hit you, didn't he?
I'm at the plate. First pitch. 90 down the middle. Oh, miss. All right, get back in there.
Little late on that
Same
one.
pitch. 91 this time. Miss. Third pitch. This guy loads up. He goes like this. Siéntate. I said, this nigga miss it down. Cliff. Back to the dugout. I said, bro, I need to start looking into liberal arts schools in Maine, bro. This shit is over. Everything I've worked for is finished. Welcome back to another episode of Smoothie and the Bib. Technically episode 3. There's many more somewhere on a desolate SoundCloud with views that are all from me listening to it over and over again. We're back. Brian only asked me to pod today because the Knicks lost.
True.
If they had won, we wouldn't be here.
Of course not.
We just came from a batting cage. Brian put on an absolute hitting clinic.
I didn't.
We're working on his mechanics one day at a time. We're really trying to get him to use his lower half. Really, stop dropping his hands. More power from the backside.
Stay over the ball. Stay over the ball.
Get your hips through the ball.
Okay.
Squish the bug, as they say. Rotate that back foot.
I thought I got to get over it. That's what Juan's told me.
Juan Soto?
Yeah. I seen that to take over the ball. That's
And the Soto shuffle.
I did that first pitch. This guy was scared of me.
But yeah, Brian was all over it. He was hitting my curveball. The two-seamer gave him some trouble. So you're pitching. If you ever see Brian in a baseball league, middle in about 84, he has no chance. It's gonna be a two-hopper to short.
Anything over 18 miles an hour, and it's a swing and a miss.
He actually hit one ball so hard that he deformed it after I just bought a brand new bucket of baseballs.
He bought the cheapest possible baseballs to ever exist.
And they did a job.
Just like the Pacers did a job
On the
a few nights ago, am I right?
And the Mother's Day massacre. Since we can get right into it then, I guess.
Of course.
This is why we're here. This is what brought us here today. Would you like to start with Game 3 or Game 4?
I would. I took notes on Game 3. I was.
Oh, this is gonna be great.
Prepared.
So Brian has notes.
They're not good notes. It was just a very passionate game, which is what I always talk about every time I watch the Knicks play. But the passion and the energy, I thought it was the interesting that Mike routinely tells me that Tyrese and Jalen are different tiers of players, which is what we've talked about again. This is episode 3 of his Jalen Brunch and a Superstar, if you weren't aware. But I thought that Game 3 was like the high level of what a player in Tier 2 would give you, which is what Tyrese did. I don't know his stat line. I believe it was 30-something and 9, somewhere around there. Yeah, and they were able to win. I did point out that the Pacers are absolutely front runners.
I hate them
the minute they have the advantage, but you can be a front running team if you go out in front. Just keep front running, I suppose.
I
yeah.
think that it's so funny that Tyrese Halliburton, the same guy who took 6 shots in Game 1, and
he was
scored
injured.
6 points, and he just healed in 2 games.
Yes,
okay, right,
happens all the time. It was back spasms.
Hopefully that happens for Jalen Brunson. Then we need some magical healing. But no, he really is a front runner.
The entire team, but it's funny. It was just funny to see the change that they had to go from nothing being said to everything being said was pretty interesting. But
I'm waiting for the humbling. I'm enjoying the last couple of days here. A lot of takes are flying.
I also believe that Dante being Steph was also my takeaway from that game because the shots that man made throughout that game was absolutely ludicrous. But
even some of the off the dribble stuff, like he had that mid range pull up that he never really shoots those, but he had a lot of shots off movement. They switched that matchup in Game 4, made it a little bit more difficult for him to get those shots off. But Game 3 was just frustrating. Because even in the moment, like it felt like they let a game get away. They let an opportunity get away. Especially with OG out, they go up 3-0. The series is very different. The tenor of the series is way different heading to Game 5 in New York. And they did a lot of things well in that game. Obviously, like there was a lot of dialogue, especially on Knicks Twitter, about the referees. I mean, I thought there was a lot of just 50-50 plays in that game, and like as we've seen, like a lot of times the home team kind of gets those whistles. Like I don't think anything was too egregious. Like the Miles play, every Knicks fan was yelling for a goaltend, and maybe it was a goaltend, but I saw that replay 15 times, and I couldn't never necessarily differentiate whether that was a goaltend or not. The only play that came up in the 2-minute report as an incorrect call was following that play. Nemhard gets the ball, he's driving down the court, and Siakam puts Hartenstein in a headlock, and they didn't call it. But that was the only play that they called on the 2-minute report as a mistake. There was some close like block charges in that game as well that didn't go the Knicks' way. That's fine. I mean, I think it's more so like you look at the later stages of the game, they just kind of stopped making shots. Like they were up by 9 early in the fourth, and I think they shot 5 for 19 in the fourth quarter, and they made a few shots early in the fourth. Josh missed a free throw late, Jalen missed a free throw late, and then obviously the shot Jalen took at the end, which
I've seen some rumblings from more of the casual Knicks fans that the Pacers defense is overly aggressive. Is that a take you share or in general? Because
they're playing physical.
Yeah, but I feel like the Knicks are also a physical team. So I was interested to hear if you feel like this is it's being either called towards the Pacers. I also had to. Glad you didn't say anything about the refereeing because I had been saying since the kickball, the phantom kickball, that the Pacers were going to get a game. They were going to get a game biased towards them. So I thought Game 3 might have been that game. And then overall, the physicality. The Knicks are a physical team in general. So I assumed that this would be how the Knicks fans would want the games to be refereed in terms of a physical game where they can fight and claw and scratch, which seems to be their motto. So
the Knicks are physical, but not like they're physical in like an effort and rebounding sense. And I feel like there's obviously a level of physicality to the way that they play, but I do think that like there is some truth to the fact that the Pacers are playing a very physical brand of defense, especially on Brunson, and like you can't call every single instance of over physicality.
Yeah, I mean, they tend not to in general, but yeah.
I mean, like I do think he gets thrown around a lot, and I do think that they're letting Neesmith be really physical with him, and it's kind of like daring the refs to make a call, and that's fine. But I mean, I don't think that, and Jalen's a physical player. I just think that like the combination of that extra physicality with him being like slowed up a little bit is just a tough combination to overcome. But I mean, even in Game 3, like he had moments and had big shots, and he missed a lot of shots that he would usually make, I think. Obviously, like I think the killer at the end of that game for Game 3 for me was like the 2 offensive rebounds, and then obviously the Nemhard shot, which like it is what it is. Like that was a crazy shot, and obviously like that's followed up with like Brunson getting hit, trying to like. I mean,
you thought that was a foul?
No, I mean like I don't think it's like it wouldn't have been like a shooting foul, but like he definitely got hit, and then he felt it and tried to go up. But like you gotta understand that like a ref's probably not giving you a three free throw foul in that situation. Like you got hit, but it's still a bad decision because, I mean, there was like three bodies by him at that point in time. And I think the Knicks kind of went all in for that game, and like.
Did OG get hurt? And he got hurt end of Game 2, right?
End of Game 2, like he got hurt third quarter of Game 2, which was the same game Brunson got hurt, and then they were able to like see it out down the stretch because Brunson had like his heroics and stuff. So I mean that's what I'm saying. Like Game 3, no OG. Brunson's kind of hobbled, didn't have a great game, and they still had a chance to just win that game and really, basically put the series away at that point, and they just didn't get it done.
I mean, as a point in Jalen's cap, he hits just a cold stone-butted 3.
That was
was that off an offensive rebound, or am I misremembering?
I don't even remember.
But I know he got the ball and just straight, and it's getting to the point where you're like, he's gonna make these shots. So again, point in his cap. Although I'm the Jalen hater on this broadcast, but obviously the shot that he hits is just a hilarious shot. As a Lakers fan who has just seen the type of shooting the Nuggets have when they play the Lakers, where it just goes in, and you can't say anything because the shot went in, But the guy steps back from 75 feet, bobbles the ball 3.5 times.
And it never looked like it was missing. It never looked like it was missing. It's just frustrating because
Tyrese is standing there after a terrible possession. Was that offensive? They got
two offensive rebounds on that possession, but that was also, I'm pretty sure they had Deuce in the game probably because the offense had gone to shit and they're not guarding Precious anymore. So they needed the spacing, but that compromises the rebounding. Neesmith got one. I think maybe Turner got one, but Turner even got a bigger one early in the fourth quarter and then hit a 3 off of it. That was like really bad. And then, I mean, other key plays, there was the foul on Neesmith, the no call on Neesmith, the foul on Neesmith that was challenged, but then it was overturned and turned into a jump ball because they missed the foul before it, and then they looked at the exact moment where he tipped the ball out. Do you remember that one where he drove left? It was like in the fourth quarter with like about 2 or 3 minutes left, and Neesmith was hacking the shit out of him. They didn't call it, and then when he did get the ball clean, that was what they called a foul. So when they reviewed it, it ended up being clean, and they did a jump ball and stuff. I mean, they should have won that game. They needed a few better possessions there. They kind of went ice cold from 3.
Or an insane shot.
That's
not going. That's the NBA basketball. But then going into Game 4, you'd think they're gonna bounce back, and then we have the Mother's Day Massacre, as Mike Breen called. I would say it does feel like the past 2 games have been played more at the Pacers' pace.
It feels like the whole series,
and just McConnell just as an aside, just to see the random spurts from the Pacers bench is just really, really interesting. Probably speaks to what we're going to talk about in terms of the depth of the Knicks, but just Obi coming off windmill, what is between the legs in game, shit, yeah. Like it's just ridiculous. And he's hit his 3. Where was that on the Knicks?
He was shooting all right with the Knicks at the end of it.
Yeah, but he's shooting like he's a different animal. But then how does that go into that game? I did my due diligence. I was at a volleyball game for teenagers. Came home, silver medal bracket. All right, winner. Haven't won a tourney all year, but
coach.
I did come back. No, I need to be on the staff. I'm lobbying to be on the staff. But
what kind of set was that?
The middles, they just don't know how to block. And so I tried to tune into the game when I could, and then I just saw the ever increasing score. And I did have a question of when do you pull your guys in the NBA? That was just a question I had for you in general, because I saw them like in the third quarter, they were still playing.
Yeah, he waited too long.
Still playing. So I know it's like, oh, you can always come back, but at a certain point you got to pull your guys. But
he certainly waited too long.
Yeah, just what was your reaction to that game? And then I watched some of it this morning, like in the background, because it just seemed to be Pacers running, missed shot, Pacers running, missed shot, 3. Yeah, okay. But before you knew it, blink of an eye, it was out of reach. So, what was that like? Was it a despair or was it a anger? I want to know.
It was more shock. Like I didn't even get a chance to get to any emotion because 6 minutes in the game was finished. Yeah, I mean, I forgot who scored the first bucket for the Knicks. Was it? It wasn't. It definitely wasn't Jalen. Was it Precious? Nah, it might have been Hartenstein. Hartenstein threw down a dunk to start the game. Then the Knicks get a stop. They come back down. Precious gets fouled on a could have been N1. Misses both free throws. I'm gonna start off the rebound. Nembhard goes down. Spin move lay. Okay, 2-2. Jalen comes back down. Shoots a 3. Neesmith, Jackie Robinson slides under his feet. No call. JJ on the broadcast. I don't even know what's a foul anymore. How do you not call that? They call him Steve Jabby. Yeah, that one's pretty obvious. I don't know how they missed that one. Well, thanks. Well, Jalen's hobbled, and we didn't get 3 free throws, and then
didn't he say it's hard to see? Isn't that what he said?
Yeah, but he's
don't misquote Steve.
He's
a legend of the game.
Half of his job is referee propaganda.
He's the referee.
That's half of his job is just.
Are they hiring?
He's still part of the union.
I hope
this guy Brunson would get no whistles with Brian on the court.
I would let him play.
Marginal contact.
As someone with a limited defensive skill set, got a couple hands on him. It's fine. What do you want him to do? Can't let him go. Anyway, so they kind of explode and they just sort of go on and on and on.
Yeah, but they didn't miss anything. Like there was one where like there was like a broken possession early. Miles Turner catches it, just throws like a step back three up,
Oh yeah, I saw that
like
one.
waves his arm and just bottoms. It's like all right. TJ McConnell's making threes, doing celebrations.
T.J. McConnell. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why he's playing like he's Jerry West right now, but it's interesting.
Halliburton's out here, just absolutely front running like they've never like a Kenyan in a marathon, just front running in the front.
Okay, yeah, he is.
Great,
He set the pace.
great country.
He set it.
Great country.
You don't know anything about Nairobi. Anyway, we're gonna
They speak Swahili.
sure. Let's go with that.
When I was in preschool, I had a Swahili clown for my birthday one year.
A Swahili clown,
She spoke Swahili,
and she was also a clown.
and she's Kenyan. What were you saying?
Oh man, I don't know. The distance between the Pacers and the Knicks right now is like the distance from here to Nairobi. Well, bang, that's what I'm saying right now. It's just I don't know. It was just obviously there you have games where it all goes wrong, right? So then it becomes what can you address that? Is it a good thing that they got rest? Josh Hart going on the bench and everyone's like, oh, it's the first time he's seen a bench in months. So it's like obviously you obviously have a lot of takes that people are coming out with now. So what do you think moving forward then in the series? Since we've
Not
gone
moving forward. I don't know what to expect moving forward from that game. I mean, like I said, like I think Tibbs could have pulled them a little bit earlier. Like obviously, you want to give them a chance coming out of halftime to like see if they can make it.
cut it to 50,
Yeah.
cut it to 62.
Yeah, maybe just make it remotely interesting. But I mean, they were down 8. The lead was ballooning actually, and he kind of like played them halfway through the third, which just felt like a little bit unnecessary. Josh Hart said that like he put the loss on himself. He just didn't have enough energy. Hartenstein said the performance was disrespectful to the fans. I can't be mad at them for anything honestly at this point in the season, at this point in the series. Like they've given Hartenstein saying that about the fans, like he's given us everything, and this team has given us everything they've had for months against all odds, and to the point where like we had unreal expectations for them and what they could do on a night-to-night basis with even like just withstanding injuries and just being like not even just blinking, just keep pushing. And obviously like you don't like to see your team lose like that, but like the Knicks said and like the Pacers said, like a win is a win, a loss is a loss. Like, it doesn't matter if it's by 40 or by 1. Like it's honestly better that they like even if their Tibbs' hand was forced to get these guys some rest, like they played Friday night and the tip-off was 3:30 on a Sunday. That's like a day, barely a day off, and you're on the road. Like it's not a lot of time to spin it around. So now they're home. They get a day off. I mean, especially if they can win Game 5 somehow, there's 2 full days off between games, which is like the games have been every other day this whole series. So they'll have an extra day off, which could do wonders. I mean, I obviously want them to win tomorrow. I don't think the series is necessarily over if they don't win tomorrow. But, I mean, obviously your task gets increasingly more difficult against a Pacers team who hasn't lost at home in a long time. But, I mean, I also think that while that's true, like you have proof of concept that if you play your style of basketball and make shots like Game 3, you'll be in a basketball game.
I think proof of concept will go on Smoothie and the Big Bingo because you love saying proof of concept. But I would like to say just in general, I feel like people talk about like hustle and intensity and in general, like not speaking on the Knicks as if it's like such a defining factor. And I feel like I'm much more in the camp of like skills, and if we're talking about like in a basketball sense, like shot making is what you're going to have to is much more valuable than not much more valuable. Like it matters. You have to put effort and hustle and intensity and all that stuff. All those things matter. But I feel like it's just like shouldn't always be the first thing that people draw to. Like it's constantly just energy, hustle, and effort. And like you said, they've given energy, hustle, and effort for 3.5 months now. So to say that like, oh yeah, that's the reason why we lost, I don't know if that needs to be the mentality. But I feel like that's at this point that's kind of all you can say when that is your pride and identity, right? It's not hasn't always been like we're the best team on the court. It's like we're the team that's going to outwork you. So
But
then when you're trying as hard as you can and then you hit a wall, then what are you supposed to do? Just try harder?
But I just think I think everything I don't think their identity to play for Tibbs you have to play hard, you have to play defense, right?
Exactly.
That's obvious,
But then you also need the skills.
but
That's
all the
what gets
skill
you-
guys are not in uniform or injured
Yeah.
or hampered.
I mean, you have said this though, part of you feel like people saying Tibbs has a little bit of fault in just the amount of games that they have played. You feel like that take is lazy or inaccurate?
Yeah, I do, because I don't think they really have a choice. I don't think when their whole rotation goes down, that you can be like, oh, they're playing these guys too many minutes. It's the playoffs. Every good player is playing a lot of minutes.
I think the argument would be more so that during the regular season, they could have had a more expanded role for the bench.
But who?
In every single...
Deuce is playing, Deuce was playing a lot. Precious was playing. Everybody was playing. Everyone, Bogdanovich was playing. Burks was not playing because he was playing terribly.
I mean, and also you wanted to ride Jalen, so...
Yeah, but they don't okay, the way the Eastern Conference was also is there was a point with 6 or 7 games left where they could have been in the play-in. It's not like the Knicks were far and away above, and they got the 2 seed on the last day of the season. They could have went anywhere from 2 to 6 and even anywhere from 2 to 8 in the last 2 weeks of the season before they closed the season on a winning streak. It's not like they had all this time to rest and figure things out. And Brunson was playing less minutes than everybody else on the team. Of all the starters, he was playing the least amount of minutes. They didn't run Brunson into the ground. He just got hurt. They didn't run Bogdanovich into the ground. He just got tackled by Nick Batum. Mitchell Robinson didn't get pounded into the ground because of Tibbs' minutes. It's because Joel Embiid grabbed his ankle. OG Anunoby's hamstring didn't get hurt because of Tibbs. It was that's the other thing. People making it seem just because it's a hamstring that means it's Tibbs related. Meanwhile, I see doctors talking about the mechanisms of how that injury occurred, and it's just a play of he took a long step trying to catch a long pass and overextended. It doesn't make he also didn't play for 2.5 months. It's not an overuse thing. He missed how many games did he miss?
Yeah.
It's not a wear and tear thing. It's just I don't know what it's either they wouldn't even be here at this point in the season if Tibbs was having to go play Shake Milton or Daquan Jeffries or God forbid Jericho Sims if he ever plays basketball again in a playoff game. I'm gonna cry.
Well, I do think it. I don't. Just for full transparency, I'm not sure of the Knicks' early season rotational minutes, and so I don't know what he could have done. I do think it's very much people have seen the Knicks in high leverage games, and it's a part of how their play style and how closely contested these games have been, where for the past however many months, all we've seen is the Knicks in close games. If you pay attention to the Knicks pretty much at all, at least when I picked it up, it's been close game after close game, contest after contest, with a focus on intensity and effort and whatever. Not exactly when I think of the Celtics, of terms of obviously the Celtics have more skilled players. I don't know if that's an offensive thing to say because you value the Knicks' the Knicks' bench guys or rotational guys. So their mentality is we're gonna shoot a bunch of threes and this could be over in the second half. While the Knicks seem to be more focused on we're gonna be intense and fight and we're gonna do this for 48 minutes, and then that seemingly is gonna take a toll. No,
if you don't have you have a bunch of good role players and you have a superstar, whatever. What are you gonna do? I do
think Tibbs is also typecast because of Derrick Rose, so he's always kind of just gonna get that.
But that's just that's so stupid. I was talking about that yesterday too. It's so stupid. A guy who has a 48-inch vertical and jumps as high as he can on every layup happens to fall on his knee, and they go, "Oh, it's because he played too much, not because of the."
But he was in the game at an interesting point. No, wasn't that the?
I don't remember. I think it was a playoff game.
I think they were up in the playoff game. My memory might be mistaken. I'm a casual NBA fan. I like to.
Yeah, but even that stuff is stupid because the only time you remember that stuff is when something bad goes wrong. Meanwhile, when Boston was down by when Boston was, or was they down or up? One of these games against Cleveland, their starters were out there for no reason at all for an extended stretch, and it's just when those things go wrong, you get blamed for it, and I just think I think it's like you said, it's a lazy narrative. I just don't think everything is like the Knicks are running out of gas, and it's like okay, like that could be true, but saying it's Tibbs' fault as if there was an alternative, it's just because Josh Hart wouldn't be playing full games if Julius Randle was here or Bogdanovich was here or everybody was here. Like it would not look like this in any capacity. So the idea that
But what were his minutes like during the regular season?
Who?
Like Josh, towards the end of the regular season.
Oh, he's playing a lot.
So I guess that's what people at least want. Like theoretically, they would have wanted them to be more of a rotation, and then even if you lost a few more games in the regular season, I understand what you're saying, that how tightly the Eastern Conference was. You are putting in risk the chance that you won't make the playoffs. But I guess that's sort of the contestation of like trust that you are going to make the playoffs and trust that you're going to have a rotation of guys that you like.
Yeah, but who did you want to see? That's my thing. It's not like they have like another guy where it's like I know Josh Hart is like the upper echelon of like role players in the NBA, but like. I mean, like I don't know what you want. Did you want to see Charlie Brown Jr.? Did you want to see Daquan Jeffries? Did you want to see Shake Milton? Like who did you want to see? Because they played everybody. Like there was a point where they were playing Burks and Achua and Deuce and
in the regular season
and Bogdanovich, yeah, and everybody. Like Burks was bad. Bogdanovich was bad for a while. He kept playing Bogdanovich a lot of minutes to get Jalen some rest. Like I just don't know how it could have gone differently. Like we wouldn't be like it's like. To say they ran out of gas implies like they ran out of gas because they're completely maximizing the talent that they have and the ability that they have, and they have to play hard to win games because they don't have their full roster. So the idea that running out of gas is if like they had so much more far to go, like I guess that's true, but like if OG's here and they win either of those games, no one's talking about the Knicks running out of gas.
That's I mean
you know what I mean? Like it's not.
I know I understand. Totally understand what you mean. I think it's just. They look for the reason of a team that does look tired, and then they try to find the reason for it. And the reason for it would most likely seem, from like a casual non-Knicks fan, I didn't watch the Knicks the whole season. So to me, it makes sense like, oh, this team that has injuries piling up, their star players, he's short on every jump shot. And I understand it's because of the injuries, probably. But like even guys like Josh Hart, who's saying he didn't have the level of energy. And then Dante had a terrible game as well. Yeah, if from like outside perspective, it's like these guys look tired, and then you think like, oh, I've seen them for the past 5 months doing max effort and energy. Could there not have been a way to divert that?
The other idea, the other alternative to what they've done is to
be the sixth
not just be in Cancun already.
Well, that's fair.
Like, the alternative is not win games. Like, everyone loved the Knicks and the Knicks tenacity and how hard they worked and how hard they played when they beat Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. Now they're losing to the Pacers. It's, they should have done something different. It's just recency bias. It's just like, no one was saying that after games 1 and 2. They're saying it now. Like, it's just like if the Knicks win game 3, and they lose game 4, no one's going, they're just gassed. No, they're up 3-1 going back to New York. Like,
I also think that does work. It is like a double-edged sword where if they do go on to win the series, then they are going to be applauded for doing it while being tired and worn down.
Yeah, but it's also like it's one game. Like it's not even just like they've been like the whole series has been like that. They were fine in game 3. Like they were tired in game 4. Like it was just a really short turn, like the shortest turnaround that they've had all playoffs long. Like they've played every other day this series. They went straight from game 3, like I said, 36 hours later they're playing game 4.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's kind of like, I mean, it's just I feel like an outlier. Like if it comes out, and I don't expect this for them, like they look flat and they do the same thing in New York, then it's like, all right, like there's more validity to it. But even then, it's like maybe they just like them running out of gas. Like I said, like it kind of more alludes to the fact that they've
maximized their talent, and this was what all that could be expected of them.
Yeah, I mean, especially
with the injuries.
If OG, that's what I'm saying. Like I can't if Brunson is not hurt, they probably win game 3 too. But that's a lot of what ifs, and I'm not trying to blame the injury game. Like I said, I said I think it would be a disappointment if they lost the series. Now seeing how things have turned out, I don't feel that way anymore. Like I would love them to win the series and continue to play, and hopefully OG can get back or whatever. But at the same time, it's like these guys have given everything for the whole season. They've outkicked their coverage to an extent, not necessarily like I guess not for expectations, but with the continuing like ups and downs of the roster and everything that's happened and people coming in and out and all that stuff, like I think there's still we could talk about that I guess briefly, like how they kind of move forward to Game 5 and like where the rest of the series goes. But
before that, does this series give you any pause to my argument that Tyrese and Jalen are in the same tier? Jalen being on the top, Tyrese being lower, or this playoff run, I would say. I've seen a lot of people say like Tyrese wouldn't even be here. I saw one Knicks post line. I have said a lot of people I'm lying. Tyrese wouldn't be here unless Giannis wasn't hurt last year.
That's true, but I don't think that's mutually exclusive to the tier that he's in.
And also, I would throw the argument that if Joel wasn't hurt, then maybe the Knicks wouldn't.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So to me, this is where I see like Tyrese and Jalen being on the same tier, where they have games that can sort of change a series. But when those role players aren't playing to their level, obviously this one's through injury, they can't always change the series in a way that you would expect them to.
I think
this is a point for Jalen Brunson, not a superstar.
I don't agree. Obviously, I just think I just don't think he's been the same since whatever happened. And I think
Tyrese has been hurt as well.
No, I agree. I was going to say that. Like Tyrese was hurt in Game 1 and 2. I do think I don't know. No, I see the argument for Halliburton, but this is also like the best 2-3 games he's had in months. So
yeah, his stats. I saw his stats for the playoffs. Kind of surprising.
No, it was
not the best.
He actually had like all of a sudden in Game 2, he just decided like he's gonna be good at basketball again. So I mean, but he's been great. Like besides the front runner shit, like it's fine.
You can be a front runner. Like it's obviously a little bit of insult to be like, oh, you can't come back from when you're down. But like if you're really good at getting ahead, then get ahead and keep getting ahead and just win. It's easy.
I guess,
but
I don't know. I don't know. He does a lot, but it's fine. I guess like, I mean, if this is the version of Halliburton that you're gonna get, then like I think peak, like I said, like we had this conversation before. Like I think peak Halliburton and peak Jalen are the two best guards in the East anyway. So I mean, like they both can be superstars. I mean, like I said, like I think what Jalen showed in Game 1 and Game 2 was like superstar shit, especially like coming back from the injury and doing what he did and scoring 25 in the second half and lead them to victory in Game 2. I don't know. I like we talked about it. Like I feel like Neesmith's getting way too much credit for slowing down Jalen Brunson. Like it was obviously the good adjustment because like Nembhard, even if he was injured, couldn't really slow him down. But I mean, I don't think Neesmith is like all of a sudden like the Brunson stopper. Like I think that shit is stupid. And like the stat I was going to tell you earlier that I withheld for the podcast was from Brian Windhorst at the Hoop Collective, and he said like from Second Spectrum data, they said that when Jalen Brunson shoots now, his elbow is like 3 inches closer to the ground than it was like his average for the regular season, which is his like, and he had 10 jump shots in Game 4 that were short, which is like so crazy of a stat. Just talking about the lift.
This is also my issue with stats is why do we need to know his elbow was 3 inches shorter when we all saw that his shots were short?
Nah,
from
I don't know.
test.
I know. I just thought it was interesting. I didn't even
just love stats.
I didn't even know they could search that, but I thought it was interesting because like it does talk to like
validated what you saw.
But yeah, like the lift.
Purpose of statistics.
Because like even the ones like there was some in the first quarter where he got like a bunch of just wide open looks and he just didn't put them like wide open looks that he got in the first quarter that could have like quelled the runs and he just didn't make them. And like you could see like when Nembhard guarded him in the regular season, he fouled out and Jalen had 40. Like it's not like all of a sudden not Nembhard, sorry, Neesmith. It's not like Neesmith all of a sudden has the answers now. It's just like the combination of his physicality and like a playoff whistle with like less lift, less like because even in Game 2, like when he came back, like it's still Nembhard on him, so he was just shooting over Nembhard, but he still didn't have like that side to side explosiveness that like in the shiftiness like which is his game is like based upon. And like I don't really like want to like I'm not making excuses for him because I still think in Game 2, like Game 3, he missed a lot of shots that he should have made just off of like getting to a spot and getting a shot off, and like he still made some questionable decisions like that last shot. So I'm not making excuses for him necessarily. It's more so just like the reality of where we're at. And
I'm fine with making excuses. I call them explanations.
Yeah,
and I'm fine with them. It's fine that someone who has injuries on both his legs can't quite jump as high. That's just an explanation. It's not to make somebody feel sorry for him. No, like that's an explanation of why some of his shots might be short. We saw him leave. We saw him come back. We saw him hobble. Yes, it makes sense that some things are off.
But that's why, like, that's the same time, like, I know Halliburton's hurt, but he also has, like, a lot more help to navigate through his injuries and not as much pressure on him just in terms of, like, the bodies that they can rotate in and the pace at which they play at, which benefits him because he can, like, and plus, like, they're at their best when he's scoring and putting pressure on the defense, but he doesn't necessarily have to be a scorer for them to win, as we saw. Like, they could have won game one. He didn't really do anything.
Do you also think that athleticism? I was pondering the take. Haven't really fleshed it out fully, but do you also think that athleticism becomes a part of one of getting that superstar mark? Because they tend to have sort of an athletic gift to the superstars in the league. If you want to go through them, either just being the height, the ability to jump.
I mean, I guess
in general.
I mean, it's like
so that might
physical
be
trait.
Yeah, that might be why I have the pause with Jalen as well.
Yeah, but Brunson has, but like JJ's talked about this before. Like what Brunson has is like he has, like you wouldn't say that Luka has elite athleticism, but he has elite deceleration, elite balance,
but
elite
for his size as well.
That's true, but I'm saying for Jalen to be the height that he is and to do what he does, like he has to have. It's not like he has no it's not like he has any physical traits.
No, but we're talking relatively. Everybody in the league is some kind of
but I'm saying
special human.
Yeah, but I'm saying like his ability to start, stop, stay on balance while putting you off balance is like a physical capability that very few players in the league have. And I think that's part of athleticism as well, like his short speed burst and stuff like that. Like I know you're more talking about like wingspan or vertical or like stuff like that, which is like obviously
just ability to move and coordination at a certain size or weight. All that stuff.
Yeah, but I think
that's where he would fit in the category.
Defines Brunson. Like what he's even done like to this point like defies all expectations for what people had of him. And I understand that the goalposts keep moving, and that's like also like fair because he's played to a level where the goalposts and expectations keep changing, which is also a compliment to him. So it's two pronged. I understand that, but I mean, I think to get back to that question, like I feel like Tyrese is when he's healthy and when he's right, like I think he's as close to a superstar or if a superstar, and I think him and Brunson, when they're both right, are like they're different, very different kinds of players.
But they're on the same tier. He doesn't want to say it, but I might have just won the argument that we've been having for 6 months.
The difference is, I think they are on the same tier. But,
oh yes.
Yeah, but Brian's celebrating prematurely because I think that the tier that they're in might be higher tier than he has them in.
No, are you familiar with Nick Wright's work on?
I am.
On FS.
Are you? You can't
like,
say that on TV, Chris. Jeez, are you crazy?
One of his bits is Club Superstar, that he calls the most exclusive club in all of sports, and you can only have so many people in the club at a certain time, and for one of them, and for someone to go into the club, someone has to get out of it. So I think he has it at 14, 12, somewhere around there.
Yeah, but he was also the guy calling Jalen a superstar now. So
yeah, but so he's going to put him in Club Superstar this week.
If he dictates the club and he's in the club, then I can't hold him to argue.
Yeah, I was thinking more of like the big picture point of like you can be on the line to get into the club.
Yeah, but is Dame's not in the club anymore?
Probably not. He's gotten old, kind of hurt.
Is LeBron? I guess LeBron has a permanent membership.
Yeah, he's the only. He got the keys from Jordan.
Harden's not anymore.
No, I don't think Harden's been in the club. I don't know. I don't know. The athleticism one's an interesting angle for me. To me, I really it comes down to like you kind of view him as like a tough shot maker, and Jalen, and it kind of at a certain point it'll eventually turn for me that like, oh no, these are just the shots he makes. Like this is just
but all
game.
His shots are tough because he's 6'1".
Well, I think that's what most people struggle with is that he is a tough shot maker, and at a certain point we're like, can he keep making these tough shots?
Yeah, but
and I understand that's why I understand your argument, is why enjoy having it because at a certain point, it's been a long time. It's been a lot of tough shots made.
I think
It's
yeah,
been a
but
lot
I
of
don't
tough
think
shots
his
made,
game
so-
is solely predicated on tough shots. Like I think he makes tough shots, but I don't think his game is solely predicated on tough shots. Like a lot, like he makes a lot of floaters. He makes a lot of shorts in this. It's like his game is more predicated on space creation than it is necessarily tough shot making. I think. Like
What do you mean by
I,
space creation?
like I think that like his game is more predicated on like quick twitch, stop, start, like get you off balance, just create enough space to get his shots off, as compared to like he can make tough shots, like contested shots, like we see like the shot he made in like in game 3, or like some of the shots he made in game 2 down the stretch where like he didn't have the necessarily like he couldn't create enough space, but he's still getting able to get like his like make pull ups or make tough shots or make fades and stuff like that. But I think like when you see Jalen at his best, it's like how many of these open floaters do you see him taking from like 12 feet, or like little runners, little floaters and stuff like that, like that he makes a living off of. Like how many shots of like drive off the screen, like step back or like pull back, wide open shot. Like I think
Yeah, keep going under Jalen Brunson screens.
even like like when they play drop against him, I mean, like I know his pull up numbers decreased throughout the year, but like stepping in and shooting those pull up threes, like I mean, yeah, I mean you get it. Jalen Brunson's good. How good is he? I guess it's gonna continue to be
About as good as Tyrese Maxey, like I've been saying for a
Maxey
long
is
time.
good too, but I mean Halliburton hadn't proved it for months. Like it was like the in-season tournament and then like game 2. So
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's just been like all of a sudden like he's back, and then as soon as
Well,
he's back,
I think
he's
that's
running his
I
mouth.
think that's the definition for a lot of people. Whereas that tier
superstar?
2 player is kind of has his up and downs, where he looks like he is a superstar, but then
Yeah,
there'll
but
be a couple games or time where he'll bounce back.
So
And
based
the
on
argument for where Jalen would be that he has been the offense for the past year with Julius's injury, so it might be a bit inflated just because of the usage rate. As opposed,
yeah, but you still have to be able to do it. Like I don't think that I don't think that being elevated into the role means that you can do it. Like there's a lot of number 2s that they became the number 1, or he's not even number 2, but like he was like a 1A or like 1B with Randall, kind of like 50-50 or whatever, 55-45, whatever the split is. But like there's a lot of guys that like if you took out Brunson and you gave Randall all of Brunson's usage, it would not go. It would. We've seen it, and it wasn't good. And he gave us a thumbs down. And
that's why I hate him.
And they had to go get Jalen Brunson.
I hate him. I just don't know his ceiling.
So I think like, I mean, yeah, you're missing Randall tremendously.
I don't know.
Of late.
I have not seen enough Julius Randle to have any sort of faith or belief.
That's
in
the
him,
thing, and that's the conversation is.
We'll have that after the season.
But that's been a running dialogue of just like the Knicks, just like all like when the Knicks won the series, they won game 1. The Knicks are so much better without Randall. But it's also like, yeah, but everyone Josh Hart has to score 25, 13, and 7, and DiVincenzo has to shoot 40% on max volume. As compared to like you throw the ball down to the 6'9" guy at the block and it's an automatic double team. Like and people throw away that sample size of when OG first got here and the parts actually fit and he was making the passes and he was getting his touches at different spots and the team was like the best team in basketball for a month and a half. They beat Denver by 30 at the Garden. Like they beat Embiid and them by 30 with both them healthy. Like they lost like 2 games with Randall and OG healthy.
You know the regular season isn't always an indicator.
I agree, but that's the only sample size I've had of this team with Randall here and no RJ. I
will say having no Owugwa, I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, but I refuse to call him by his nickname. So I apologize, Mr. Ananobi, if that's not how you pronounce it.
I hope you're listening to this, bro. Get some stim on that hammy, bro.
Bro, use all the steroids.
Yeah, whatever you need to do.
I do think I had undervalued him. I know the stats, and the stats are just so outrageous. It's hard to believe the impact. No,
OG, yeah.
But
he basically anchors their entire defense with it. It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't. It's. I watch it and I can't even process. It's night and day.
Okay. So that was just what I saw. It was like maybe I have been undervaluing how good this British gentleman is.
I also think like if Jalen doesn't get hurt, this series is essentially almost pretty much done, and the conversations of which tier is who and what is a lot clearer because there was no signs of Brunson slowing down, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not.
You're not sure that Tyrese plays like this if he's not.
No, Tyrese can keep playing like that, but if Brunson's not compromised, that game 3 the Knicks would have won that game by 5 or 10 points, I think, based on how the game went, the shot selection that he got, the spots he was able to get. Like
before the injury and after.
No, like he was getting the same shots, and like obviously he had to work a lot harder because his mobility is not the same. But he also missed mad shots that he usually makes, like especially even like those short little floaters, just because he didn't have the lift. And like I think that if they're up 3-1, we're not talking about like Halliburton and Brunson are the same. Like we're saying that
not the same. They can be different levels of the tier.
But think about it. Brunson gets hurt in game 2, misses the first half, comes back, scores 25 in the second half. Like that's the only thing that broke his 40 ball streak. Then he's still been compromised ever since. Like it's fair. It's not unfair to assume that if he never got hurt, he'd be averaging 40 again, or like high 30s again. Like it's not unfair to assume, and the series would not be what it looks like. And it is what it is. Like I'm not making excuses for like the Knicks. Like I said, like I'm obviously it's not how we would want it to end if it ends like that, but. Like I'm not like I'm content with how the season's gone and what we've seen and like what we can go into the next season taking solace in. But I mean, I don't think if Brunson's healthy, I think the series is pretty much done.
That's fair. But I will like to point out that if all these things are true, then the expectations for the Knicks next year is going to be sky high, and we will certainly have time to
we just have
to make those arguments.
We have a scapegoat.
But what?
We have a scapegoat.
Which is what?
Julius Randle.
No, that's our scapegoat. For you, you've told me that. You've shown me the stats of them playing well together. We're not going to do this.
I do wish I had a playoff sample size to go.
But,
sorry, Luke Cornett just took a nice spill in the game we're watching.
But
we'll get to that in just a minute.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. You talk a big game about a lot of these players. So when they're all back healthy and whole, I don't want to hear any limitations on what the Knicks can be, because if we're not giving them enough credit for where they are now,
everyone gave them enough credit. Like I think they've like even after they beat Philly, like they got all the credit in the world and they deserved it. But I mean, it's just updating the information as we have it. Like who's to say what you don't agree? Like I'm supposed to just stay steadfast on the point no matter what the changing circumstances are?
No, I just if everyone works as well together as you proclaim them to be currently, then I'm very interested in what your expectations are next season. That's what I'm saying. Well, because after discussion, we've gotten it to like kind of expected them to make it to the conference finals and probably lose to the Celtics. That was at the start. Yeah. That was without Julius, but obviously before the injuries for now. Yeah. And you've proclaimed that Julius.
That was an OG, a Bogdanovich, and a Mitchell Robinson ago.
Absolutely. And then they're going to add Julius. Yeah. So your prediction for next season will be very telling to me. If you predicted them without Julius to be in the conference finals.
Right, but that was also, I said that to you like 70 games into the season with a clear understanding of what the league layout looked like. And that obviously like will depend on how completely different the East could look next year with Embiid and Maxey, and then we can have a whole brand new team. Basically,
absolutely.
The Bucks, whatever they're gonna do.
I know there's a
Where
lot.
Where does Donovan Mitchell go? Who do the Magic add? I feel like I'm pretty objective about where the Knicks are, and I don't think that anything I said of where they would be or where I end up was not factually like. Would you agree that if fully healthy, that they would be in the conference finals and they lose to the Celtics? Not even without Julius.
It's a fair assumption. The constant arguments that we have is that like we argue about like them being 1 or 2 games worse. Like that's what I all consistently realize is that we argue the margins quite a bit. So we never are actually that far apart. But all I'm saying is it will be very telling to see where you rate them. And obviously a lot has to happen. An entire offseason has to happen. As a matter of fact, this series has to finish before we even get anywhere like that. But it will be very telling is all I'm saying where you think they will be after next season. Because you have laid your, I said proclaim 7 times this podcast. You have laid your flag down very aggressively. So it'll be interesting to see what you say at the start of next season.
I want to get into other series and
I don't.
the rest of this series as well, I guess.
How does the series end? What was my prediction last pod?
Pacers in 6, maybe. Looking very strong. I said Knicks in 6.
I put up the eyes like Dele Alli. For you Premier League fans, you know what that means. Anyway,
I put up Knicks in 6. I mean, it's still theoretically possible.
Of course. We're even Stevens.
I don't know. I really don't know what to expect moving forward. What were my strong proclamations that you were alluding to just there though?
No, you rate the. We're not having this conversation now. We'll have this on.
What are my strong proclamations
from now? You just believe in the Knicks, and you've told me how good Dante DiVincenzo.
Yeah, but the Knicks.
is.
Okay, but the Knicks are a very good basketball team. So why would I not?
They are.
I didn't say that they
are.
It's not nothing I said. Nothing I said about the Knicks this season has been outlandish or hyperbole.
No, I don't. Well, I think
I'm high on the Knicks because they're a good basketball team, and they proved that.
Of course, I think you have a little bit more home. I think everybody has bias for their hometown team, so I think as good as Josh Hart is, and as much of a dog as he is, not to be disrespectful to Mr. Hart, but how are we gonna do this again next year?
What do you mean? But
the shooting. The offensive rebounding.
The shooting wasn't good this year. He shot good for
he shot well in the playoffs
for a series and a half. But it's also he even
exactly.
said
And if
he
you
even
don't have
said
that.
He even said that they were talking on the pod why why is he shooting better?
I don't know why.
Yeah, they're kind of boring. Great guys, but they're kind of dry. Unlike
I just got uninvited.
Unlike Smoothie in the bib.
Just got uninvited. This is a terrible podcast.
But
don't ever compare. Anyway, but.
How could you say something? He even said he was super locked in and getting shots up every day, which is do that all the time, I guess.
Was this before or after you lost to Knox Reddick?
Oh, obviously way after. We might need Knox to suit up, or even JJ.
8 years old.
Big Perk's gonna be there for Game 5, hopefully in uniform. I don't think anything I say is outlandish. I also think he'll be he'll be arguably better because you can do everything he's doing, but in shorter spurts and not be asked to play 45 minutes, but play 28 minutes, and that just I think.
And
I think all this stuff bodes well because you playing above your capability only bodes well for when you don't have to because now you're playing.
Well, that's where I disagree with you, and it goes back to the point you said before. When you get elevated to a certain point, not everybody can handle that elevation. And when you get demoted to a certain point, not everybody can handle the demotion either.
It's not necessarily because Hart was doing the same stuff minus the shooting in regular season. DiVincenzo was doing this all year, and they all fit with Randall. That he makes their life easier. DiVincenzo doesn't have to shoot threes coming off pin downs and motions and off the dribble and fading when you have to send two to Julius. He just sends the swing to wide open DiVincenzo. It makes your life easier.
You would think that, but I don't think that's something that you can know.
Yeah, sure. But if you, it's not like they never played with Randall and now they're getting Randall. They did it with Randall. They were asked to do more. They were able to do more, but that doesn't mean that they can't. Because they've been in that role before. They did it for most of the season until Randall went down. So it's not like it's a brand new role to their concept to them.
How high were the Knicks before Randall went down? Do you remember? That's a very tough pull for you, but
they were when he went down.
The only reason I asked is just because it would obviously make sense that if he shoots the shooting that he has to have that 35-point game or whatever he ended up with.
Yeah, but you're not going to be asking him to do that. You're going to be asking him to get 15.
You're going to be asking him to spot up in the. I know, but that's what I'm saying. It doesn't necessarily have to work the other way. I don't believe that. Yeah, I don't believe so.
If we've seen it, the idea that they can't do the same thing that we've seen them do doesn't make sense to me.
I've seen outstanding players, 3-and-D guys. I don't know. You can pull anybody from the bottom half of the Lakers roster for the last 4 seasons who played fantastic as a spot-up shooter on any other franchise, and the minute they had to come and
Yeah,
play
but we see,
the same role on the Lakers,
yeah, but that's
it
coming
didn't
into a
work.
new team, a new system. I'm saying that we've seen them do that same thing in the same system, with the same coach, with the same players, with the same thing.
Okay, so if Josh Hart is this level of player and Dante DiVincenzo is this level of player, and adding Julius Randle back to the fold shouldn't be an issue because they've already played with them. And Julius
Well,
Randle
if there is an issue, the issue would be number
Julius
30.
Randle is already tier 1 player or wherever you want to place him. And Jalen Brunson is a borderline superstar, if not a superstar. And Tibbs is a coach who's brilliant at maximizing his talent. Then it'll be very interesting to see what your preseason prediction for the Knicks will be. That's all my point is.
Yeah.
And you don't know where we go from here in the series.
I believe that in the series that I can't even say it like I'm really confident. I really don't know what to expect, honestly, but I do think that I said this after game 3, but it applies even more now going to game 5. The Knicks have, every time there's been even any sign of adversity, they've found a way to come back bigger and better. I think the quote from Brunson, that the viral thing that's been going around of like the mic that picked up, did you see it?
I did not.
Siakam was like pushing him before halftime, and the Knicks are obviously down 30, and Brunson smiles and he goes, "It's a long fucking series." And then he came out post game, asking about his foot, trying to give him every opportunity to make an excuse. He said, I'm fine. Like, none of the shorthanded stuff matters. Like, we either win or we lose. We're wearing his black hood on, locked in, all business. That's kind of how they've been this whole year. And, like, I see, obviously, like, Knicks Twitter is in turmoil. And just in case any of y'all listen to this, some of y'all are morons. Just want you guys to know that. I'm not going to say names. But some of you guys are just...
He knows the names, by the way, but...
Oh, I know the names, but some of you are just absolute fools.
That's great talk. I've also, as a fan of the UFC, I've seen many fighters talk about what they're going to do to this guy when you step in the cage. And they got 25 minutes on Saturday night. And then they get smoked. And then they say, well, I was going into this with a broken spine. so he could, I understand that's the mentality of a great athlete. Your body can have physical limitations.
Of course it can have physical limitations. But
we'll see. But it's very interesting. And, I'm just hoping for my pick to be right. So I don't really have a dog in the fight. I still can't believe he made that shot. That 3-pointer is still one of the most ludicrous things I've seen.
Who, Nemhard?
Yes.
Yeah.
Quite a lot.
Absolutely nuts.
What are the craziest? Oh, that's Knicks basketball, though. That's how it
really
feels
is.
when you're rooting against the Knicks, though.
It really
Because-
brought back years of Knicks PTSD.
No, I'm saying this season, that's how it's felt to watch the Knicks. 2 offensive you defend them.
Oh, no, literally.
You get 2
They got
offensive
Knicks.
rebounds.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere,
Yep.
some dude hits a shot.
That was how the Knicks won game 2 against Philly.
Crazy.
Yeah, the Knicks got Knicks. No, that's for sure. But I do, yeah. I think that they're very prideful, and I think that like they take these things like really personally. And I think if it really was an effort thing, like I think being back at the Garden will re-energize them. Being back at home will re-energize them. So I think like, betting odds have the Pacers favored to win the series. The Knicks have 2 out of 3 at home. I think if they win Game 5, they win the series. That's not really, I guess, a controversial opinion. It doesn't guarantee them anything, obviously.
I think the stats is very favored on like the Game 5 team winning, though.
I assume so. But like, especially with the way the team is built, like for them to lose 3 straight and then win in Indiana, win in New York, Game 7, you'd be asking a lot at that point. So I think it kind of is a must-win. I do still hold the sentiment that the Pacers got to beat us twice. They got to see us 2 more times, and let's see if they can do it. Yeah. So Knicks in any amount of games necessary to win the series.
Knicks in 19.
Whatever.
I want it as a war of attrition.
Whatever you need to do to win the series.
But you mentioned pride and energy, and speaking of that reminded me of the Denver Nuggets, whose game I caught some of this morning.
I caught most of it.
To come back from 2-0 down, it really is like some things. Like it's weird. I just talked about how like effort and hustle doesn't always has to be like the first thing that people draw, but like the first thing that I thought of with the Nuggets is like that's just what championship teams manage to do. You go down 2-0, everybody else would be. Most people are panicking and looking up Cancun in their hip pocket, and the Nuggets come up with no, it's 2-2, and we're going back to Denver.
But that's what,
So-
like you said, that's what good teams do. Like they figure it out. Like they figure out ways to break down what they want to do to them.
Jamal Murray from 75 feet.
Yeah, that's them scoring 8 points in the final 25 seconds.
If I didn't hate the Nuggets, I'd post that picture with Harlan. I love that. It's just so cold to me. I don't know why.
It is cold.
But
I'm not as in tune with the X's and O's of that series, obviously. But I do think like they won yesterday without really getting anything at all from Michael Porter Jr. 28 from Aaron Gordon. I think that's like a really big boost for them, and continues to be sensational. Cat has
terrible game yesterday.
Yeah, had another bad game. I mean, he had like a good little stretch during that third quarter, but obviously it wasn't enough. And Ant continues to answer the bell and to continue to ascend. I mean, I think that kind of goes.
He's
to
at the front of the line.
No, he is. He's the leader of the train.
For a club superstar, I meant, but go on.
No, I get it. I understand. I don't disagree. I think like, but again, that kind of goes back to like the conversation that we had about how like, oh, the Knicks lost these two games in a row, and now like they're done and they're tired and they're gassed and the series is over. And when everyone discarded Denver after those first two games, it's the same thing. It's just like a very, what have you done for me lately? And I guess that's kind of speaks more to the climate of sports narratives and conversation than it does to like the actual basketball of it all. But it really is going to be interesting to see where it goes from here. Like, can Minnesota do it again in Denver? Can Ant continue to play as well as he's played? Like, can Cat give him the help that he needs to kind of make this series interesting? I mean, like, you even see Denver, like, they're getting big minutes, big buckets from, like, Christian Braun had some big shots. Justin Holiday had some big shots.
Yeah, I think it was Holiday. Has he always been in the rotation? Because
I feel like he's, like...
For not being, casual fan, sorry.
I feel like he's been in and out. Like, I feel like he's also, like, one of those guys that's been in the league so long that, like, if you're, like, things are not going well, like, you kind of know what Justin Holiday brings to the table.
Yeah, but Malone, I feel like he's, at least in watching him in the Lakers series, is he'll find, like, a little adjustment or a player to sub in where they somehow have, like, an impact on the game. And it's
and
speaks to him as being a championship-level coach.
To be fair, I mean, I think all the coaches, honestly, like, in the playoffs, this is, like, some of the best playoff basketball I've seen in a long time in terms of, like, the game-to-game adjustments that teams have been making and, like, figuring out. And, like, the chess matches that have been going on. Like you look at it, the Knicks, Carlisle and Tibbs have been going at it, like Malone and Finch. And
credit to Carlisle for getting those calls.
Yeah, he was...
Complained, got him.
Yeah.
Changed the tone of the series.
He was twerking for some calls, and they rewarded him.
And
the best $35,000 he ever spent.
Was right?
Crazy. Let's see.
But go on. Yes,
that's
coaching
fine.
adjustance.
That means
across the board.
If we're gonna say the home teams are gonna get all the calls, then the
no,
Knicks have
we're
two.
saying whoever twerks for it, and Tibbs ain't a twerker.
All right, well.
Titled the pod. Anyway, the chess matches between across the NBA has been interesting.
Where do you think that series goes, though?
I don't know.
It's crazy. I feel like it feels like it's destined for 7, right? Probably.
It feels like it, but I honestly don't know. I figured they would get one in
Minnesota. Minnesota would get one at home.
Yeah, and take a full control of the series, but they don't. And Lakers fan, I can't count out I do not count out the Nuggets at any point, at any stage. They know how to win basketball games, and everyone talks about Nikola being a 3-time MVP, and it is a little bit unprecedented, I would say, in terms of obviously league history, just giving him 3 MVPs. But he is a dominating force on the court, and Jamal Murray's ability in the NBA playoffs is ludicrous. Tough shot. I don't know if you think he's, again, a tough shot maker is what I view him as. Just he's going to get to his spots, and he's going to make really difficult shots. And when he gets hot, he is the microwave from 2K. So, like, they're always going to be a very difficult team to beat. And they find ways to defend, and they find ways to play. But from the Timberwolves side, obviously Ant's going to get a little bit of leeway just because of his age. But I thought this was a big series for Gobert, and it's kind of disappointing me. He constantly gets to talk about the contract and trades and all that and the MVPs. And this is kind of the biggest opportunity to go against another big player, not one who's notoriously like physically imposing or like who scares you with athleticism, as being Jokic. And you're the best defensive player in the league. 3 times, is it 3-time or 4? 3-time, right? 3-time defensive player of the year. Can you do something?
Yeah.
Show me something.
Did he win? Did he win it again, or they didn't announce it yet?
I believe he won it again.
Okay. Yeah.
So
might be 4.
I think it's a big series. I thought it was a big series for me, and obviously he has a child, which that's fine.
I don't know if that's like. I don't know if like, but like I don't know if Jokic is like like the bar. Like I feel like he's more the exception than like the.
No, but that's what it's supposed to like.
I guess
to be fair, MVP is usually just offensive player of the offensive player of the year.
Yeah.
To be honest, and it's the offensive player versus the defensive player of the year.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of like Gobert's like, if you think about it, like there's not a lot of players that play like or bigs that play 1-on-1 like that. Like it's literally just Jokic and like Embiid basically, and like I guess kind of Sabonis falls into that, but he's more of like a hub than he is like a scorer. So I mean, like I think a lot of what people have come to realize with Gobert this year is like a lot of his successes are more like not necessarily like singly shutting down a player, but more so like what he allows you to do as like a defensive scheme with him as an anchor kind of thing, as compared to like him being a guy who's gonna stop somebody, like a guy like Jokic in the post. Like I just don't think.
And as a more casual fan who doesn't view stats, don't tell me you're a 3-time defensive player of the year if you can't stop the guy we need you to stop. If that's not in your game,
but if you can't stop, if it's like saying like
that's not in your game at all. And I understand
you can't stop the singular most.
Slow him down. Do something.
I mean, like he had like what 24 in game 3 where they won or something like that. Like it's not like Jokic has been scoring like 35. Like he I don't know. I guess I'm not here to defend Rudy Gobert. I could care less. Like I really could care less.
The Rudy slander.
But I mean, like I just don't. It's like he's a really weird player to necessarily like evaluate, and I think like his impact is more so like what he does for like allows the scheme to do than it is like what he does as a singular player, like or like even as a shot blocker or whatever. Yeah, so I think that one's gonna be. I mean, both those series are gonna be interesting. I think the one that's most interesting to me is like Dallas and Oklahoma City. Like I've seen a lot of people talking about like are like kind of putting pressure on like Shea now, kind of being like, because I think he had a bad third quarter at one of these games or fourth quarter one of these games, sorry, and like how to evaluate his like ascension and stuff like that. But obviously, like what PJ Washington has been doing has been insane. Like he is averaging like 20-something points per game. Like he might be averaging more points per game in the series than like Kyrie is, which is like I don't know if that's true, but it feels like that watching the last 2 games because in game 2 I watched game 2 was OKC. Yeah, he had like 7 threes, 28 points, something like that. And then game 3 another big game. Obviously game 4 tonight. Just after we're finished recording this. But like they've done it without Luka really. Like they've done Luka's obviously been there and he had the big game in game 2, I think. But like they've been doing it with like a sum of their parts kind of thing, and it's been really impressive. Like they've done this is the first time they've really built like I mean I guess it's not necessarily the first time, but like they did it when Brunson was there, obviously. But they built a really good roster around him, and like him and Kyrie have struck a really good balance, and like Kyrie's really showing his value here, where he's like able to play off the ball when Luka's there, and when Luka's obviously like very hobbled and like very like getting increasingly slower and more hobbled as the series goes on. Kyrie's showing his value, and like the other players are stepping up, and like Derrick Jones Jr. and Dante Exum and Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, all those guys are filling in, and Jason Kidd is really coaching a good series. We kind of see OKC figuring it out on the fly. Like they've had moments. Jalen Williams has had big moments. Lou Dort's playing great defense on Luka. Obviously hobbled, yeah. So, but like Dort, that's kind of what Dort does anyway. So it's gonna be interesting where a series goes from here. I think it's game 4 tonight is in Dallas. I think they're like Dallas is like 1.5 point favorite, so it's basically a pick 'em. And that's kind of how the series has gone as we expected. I know there was some controversial calls down the stretch of game 3 that could have swung it a little bit. That's just the nature of refereeing in basketball at this point. Like it's just never. I guess it's never been perfect, and it never really will be.
Stop waiting for it to be.
any thoughts on OKC and Dallas? Brian doesn't have any thoughts on OKC or
Sorry,
Dallas.
again, corporate slave. Those games start at 11 o'clock. I'll watch the first half when I can. If not, I'll be asleep. That being said, just like generally, I can't say it for the Knicks and then not say it. When you're going by the sum of the parts, as they say, you kind of wait for the superstars to kick in or go into another gear. And with Luka being hobbled, it's interesting to see how Kyrie has become a leadership and sort of like the growth of him being in that sort of leader and elder statesman role and being able to defer and do all those things, which is kind of interesting just to see him at this stage of his career where he's able to do that as a player and impact a game and possibly lead a team to be 3-1. So
It's been fun to like completely reevaluate my players once I got past my Knicks colored glasses and hatred for Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving when they were in Brooklyn, and the hate that the Knicks received as a part of it. But I mean, Kyrie's game is undeniable, and obviously the vaccine debacle aside, which he honestly, who knows where.
There's been a lot of debacles. We don't have to go into all.
He honestly even might be on the right side of history at this point with however all that stuff went. So who?
And we're demonetized. We did want. I did ask Mike if I could talk about his anti-establishmentarianism, and he. Well, we're not gonna do that.
Let us know in the comments what your let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on the COVID-19 vaccine.
No. On Michael being a disestablishmentarianism advocate. But yeah, did we get a conclusion for Boston and Cleveland with Donovan Mitchell missing this game? Believe Boston is closing in on a victory. And
as we speak, to be very precise.
Very interesting year. I don't. This is such an interesting year for just like who's going to win the NBA championship. And I feel like in general, like it kind of, we can sort of forget that like things kind of get lost in like the legacy of people's careers with those dominating forces of LeBron and like Curry. But like this could be a defining moment for a new player in the generation or Nikola Jokic's second championship to go with his third MVP. Jokic or a new guard. So that's kind of just what I think of every time I sort of reevaluate the playoffs as a whole. Is this Luka's first ring? Is this Tatum shutting up the haters? Is this Jalen Brunson doing something out of nowhere? Is this even on the off chance of Tyrese Halliburton and them breaking through and finding a ceiling? Is this?
I much prefer that Tyrese Halliburton somehow break through and do it because. Honestly, like the Celtics would have the most Mickey Mouse run to the NBA Finals that I've seen in recent years, and then we're gonna pretend like Tatum has been so good and he hasn't. So,
yeah,
like I think
he's been given a crown very early.
The way that this game is going, like as we speak, they're doing a coach's challenge on a Al Horford play, but Cleveland's down like 7 with like 3 minutes left. No Donovan Mitchell, of course, like obviously the game's completely different if he plays, but. Based on the score and time, it's not unreasonable to assume that Cleveland would have a chance in this game if Mitchell was there. And then you're talking about maybe a 2-2 series going back to Boston, which is way more than anyone thought it would be. And like they haven't had an answer to slow down Donovan Mitchell at all, and they've been talked about as this defensive team. And I know no Porzingis and stuff, but you would think with Jaylen Brown and Derek White and Drew Holiday that they'd be able to scheme up something to slow down the pick and roll of Donovan Mitchell and like Evan Mobley and stuff like that. And
it's hard to slow down tier 1 players like Donovan Mitchell or Tyrese Halliburton or Jalen Brunson. Victory for the Bibster. But
Halliburton,
Mitchell.
Brunson, Mitchell.
No, this guy put Mitchell at the bottom. He's near the top of the list. Whatever, that's fine. But
2 of those guys might be next year.
Who knows? You don't need him. You got Julius Randle.
I think that if it was an option to have Donovan Mitchell, I think that it's not shaking up the I don't know the saying here. Rolling the dice.
Snow globe. Shaking up the snow globe.
Yeah, shaking up the snow globe.
Uh-huh.
And mixing and matching some new pieces could be interesting. I guess to put a bow on that series and this episode, yeah, I think Boston. It was obviously one of the best regular season teams in history, but also I think has not really been battle tested. And I think that, like the same way that people talked about the Knicks playing all these games all year, like I think it's the opposite for Boston. And I think that if you brought them into a series where they had to play 40 plus minutes a night and make them play physical and be in close games, that we haven't seen Boston do that, and I still need, as you would say, proof of concept that they can do it.
Might not need it. They'll just shoot everybody out the gym.
Or they'll just miss all of them and then they'll lose a bunch of games. So, yeah, that's our episode. Is there any final NBA playoff conclusions before we skedaddle?
Drop a like in the comments if you think Jalen Brunson is a superstar. Drop a comment if you think
there's been no likes and no comments on the first two episodes. If you guys can please rally behind Smoothie and defeat the bib, that would be.
Drop a comment ranking Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Halliburton, Donovan Mitchell.
And what are your guys' thoughts on mass media and the consumption by the general U.S. population?
What are your thoughts on a clearly mass media trade? Someone who is very establishment, being anti-disestablishmentarianism.
And what are your thoughts on doing your own research?
What are your thoughts on when you do your own research and still come to the consensus of the mass media? Does that make you a sheep?
Shout out!
Did everything I say sound like a bot this episode?
Shout out Aaron Rodgers. Shout out Anthony Fauci. I'm not letting you guys know where I stand. You have to find out another episode. Like you said, like, comment, subscribe.
Joe Rogan,
the real
source of media.
Knicks in 6. Jalen Brunson's a superstar. And we'll catch you guys